Hey everybody, welcome to Rock and Roll Shin-Soo, episode number 105. My name is Gabe Estel. I'm here with my co-host Jonathan Sedan Delivery Gets and Levi When You Dance Leach. All right, how's it going, guys?
Oh, amazing with that introduction. Oh.
Good. I
Right.
mean, you've teased one of my entries here, so good.
I know, mine too.
Well
Yeah, fuck, I don't know. Do we have the same thing? But
No.
anyway, folks, we keep plowing through here. This will be released as a box set after we finish it, which we started it back in 2017. No, just kidding. It's been a few months ago. We're going through a big list of 100, which we thought, we'll get through this in 2 episodes. 5 episodes later, we're in our this is our 100 items between that we're appreciative of in baseball and music. So 100 things related to baseball and music that really warm our hearts and make us grateful for the game and the music. So want to remind everybody before we get started, you can hear our most recent episode prior to this one, as well as all the others prior to that one, at rockchew.com. You can follow us on Twitter and the Instagram at rockinchew. Okay. And then also you can like us on Facebook and listen to us on any of your favorite podcast apps. Okay, so we're moving through our list here, and in a time where, you know, it's good to probably express some gratitude, even though things look a little bleak out there right now for everybody. I guess I can go ahead and start, right? I guess, is that okay? All right, it doesn't matter to me. I'm not greedy, but anyway, I'll go ahead and start here. This next one, and I want to bear in mind we made these lists, probably about 5-6 months ago. So. They might have taken on a little bit of a different tone if we made them, today. But, my number 15, and, he's actually been our most featured guest on this podcast. I'm talking about, I think, 4 or 5-time guest, Ricky Cobb, who hosts the Twitter feed Super 70 Sports. In case, I assume many of our listeners are probably familiar with it, but just in case you're not, it's pretty much, I think I read a columnist say that some days it's the best things on Twitter, other days it's the best thing on the internet. And I could not disagree more. I think it's the writer from the New York Post. I can't remember who it was.
You could not agree more.
I could not agree more. Yeah, right. Sorry about that. Whoops. Yes, namaste. I couldn't agree more. And, everybody can read the Twitter feed, and I wouldn't do it justice by repeating a lot of them. But I will say this. My favorite one is where he has Gary Coleman in the Padres outfit, and it says, Disney was disappointed, I'm paraphrasing here, that Honey, I Shrunk Dave Winfield was a box office disaster. It said that's still my favorite one. We've all got kind of like our favorite Onion article, or our favorite Onion picture.
I have my favorite Super 70s.
What's that?
It's a shot of like the golden era Wayne Gretzky when he's got the permed hair and he's got his shirt off and he's wearing like Umbros and he's like sitting on the ice, like laying on it, posing.
Huh.
And then I'll paraphrase. It said something like Playboy was disappointed in the sales of the Princess Di issue.
Oh.
He does. He looks just like that era Princess Di.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that dude, obviously we've had him on the show for those listeners out there who are regular followers of his Twitter feed, or have heard him on this show. He's just a quick-witted dude who who can just hang. Ricky's just a good hang, whether it's on this show or follow him on Twitter. It's one of the things that, hell, I don't even tweet that much, but I get on Twitter basically to read Super 70 Sports, essentially.
Right.
Will you summarize Super 70 Sports for our listeners who might not be?
Yeah, I'll try. Well, fuck, I'll try my best. It's a Twitter feed where the host reminisces and pays homage to 70s sports photos, essentially.
And 80s too.
And some 80s, and also some pop, and also I'd say some pop culture from that era too. And
some people like to give him shit. They'll be like, "That's from '87,"
and he always takes them down too. Like he can silence his critics.
That's not from the '70s.
Yeah. So I think it started as that, and it's still, that's kind of the core of it. But it's really just pictures with really funny captions. They're all original. It's just really, really sharp and biting and smart. And you'll laugh out loud. I don't know how, I'm not doing it justice there, but I mean, it's
right.
That's the crux of it.
Considering how long he's been around, I mean, there's not a ton of repeats. There are some, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Every artist has their greatest hits. You know what I mean?
There aren't a lot of repeats. He does, recycle a few of them, but there are some imitators out there, and they're not that funny. I don't know if you guys have seen, because they come up in my suggestions.
No, I didn't know there are now. Wow.
They'll be like cool 80s baseball or something, and I'll go to them, and they'll have more followers than they deserve, probably 30,000 or so. And there's a blatant ripoff. I mean, they don't necessarily plagiarize his post, but it is 100% derived from his feed. I mean, the inspiration for it. There's no doubt, and it's just not that fun. And they're not as funny or as clever as his. So he spawned some imitators, and they are far inferior.
There you go. That's the sincerest form of flattery.
There you go. Yeah. So, but no, go to super70sports.com too. He's got clothing now, from t-shirts from everything from old Hartford, old ABA shirts to Caddyshack shirts, just all the cool shit that most people who like baseball and rock and roll and pop culture a lot from that era, things you'll appreciate. So hats off. He is probably my favorite thing on the internet most days.
Right on. There you
Absolutely.
go. That's a good one, man.
Yeah, he's Ricky's hats off, buddy.
He's a Twitter treasure.
He is. Yeah, we'll have him on the show again soon, and he deserves all of his success and then some.
Sure.
Well, right on. Good one there. My next choice is gonna be an album that I'm pretty sure I've talked about before on this podcast, at least probably twice. But it's an album that just has stuck with me ever. Basically it's an album that I've had different experiences with my entire life. So I grew up with this album. Like I said in the last episode, I watched a lot of MTV growing up with my sister, who was 10 years older than me. And so in 1985, Dire Straits came out with an album called Brothers in Arms. And it was literally all over MTV. The Money for Nothing video and then the Walk of Life video were just in constant rotation. So growing up as a kid, I developed a relationship with Dire Straits based off of that. And at first, it was almost I thought of them as a whimsical band almost, because Money for Nothing has some of the first video animation in it, computer animation. And then the Walk of Life video is filled with sports bloopers and sports highlights and stuff. So
it's definitely a campy record for them.
Right? Yeah. that was my introduction to the band.
Yeah,
I'd never heard Sultans of Swing or anything at that point. And so it's just crazy that as the older I've gotten, the more I've gotten into records and into audiophile, music, that album has followed me because it's considered one of the greatest sounding records like ever made. It was one of the SACDs that won a Grammy, which is like, SACDs, not a ton of them had done that ever.
What do you mean by SACDs?
Super audio CDs.
Uh-huh.
They were high definition CDs that basically are surround sound. Albums are mastered for that format. So it's not like a guy just comes in and takes something that was already recorded and then tries to like split it into multiple channels. It's like these albums are like remastered and basically almost re-recorded to an extent in that surround sound format. So I have Brothers in Arms. I have Dark Side of the Moon is a really good one. There's parts of Dark Side of the Moon where it's swirling around you in surround sound. You have to have a pretty decent surround sound system, you can't just have like a cheap system, but
also, are you saying that the engineering of the SACD won the Grammy?
I'm not sure. I believe so. Yeah, it won the Grammy for the SACD won the Grammy for, I'm pretty sure, best engineering.
Okay, got it.
And like in its original day when it was released in 1985, it was the first album to ever sell 1 million CDs.
Mm-hmm. That's a good trivia question.
Yeah. And it was the first album to sell more CDs than its vinyl counterpart.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And so, but they were still. What's so crazy is an executive for Rykodisc, which was a label back in that era, was talking in an interview about how when that album came out, it was so popular on CD that none of the other like recording companies could get their disc press due to like the worldwide demand of like the world manufacturing facilities. Like Dire Straits,
they were bogarting the presses.
Yeah, like Dire Straits was selling so many CDs that other record companies could not get their CDs pressed.
Get the fuck in line is what Dire Straits was saying.
Right? And so it's just cool that album has kind of grown with me, and then it got me into Dire Straits, obviously, into their past catalog, and just a great band, which I could say now that, it may not be necessarily my favorite Dire Straits record, but it's the one that means the most probably to me.
Sure.
Just because it was, like I said, I can remember like, laying on the carpet watching Money for Nothing come on, being like, what? Like, what is this? Like, you know what I mean? Because of that. And looking back on it now, it's like the worst computer animation ever. But,
yeah.
But like at the time, it was just like, this is, groundbreaking.
Sure. Yeah. You mentioned that was your introduction to them, and mine as well. Is probably a lot of America's introduction to them. I mean, I looked at, the previous albums had charted in the U.S., but like, that made them superstars over here too. Sure. Whereas I kind of associate them more with Britain before, the arrival of Brothers in Arms,
Yeah, I would say almost, I mean, I obviously don't know, but it almost is like a case of like, I'm sure there were fans that were like, oh, we were fans of the early days. Like, I'm sure some fans took Brothers in Arms as like a sellout.
Well, I take that back. Their first album actually went to number 2 in the U.S., so I take that back.
I knew that.
So never mind. What do I know?
Because it sold the swing on it.
In between records that they were kind of dicey on. Like the records, the second record in basically On Until Money for Nothing, Those albums didn't sell as well, for sure.
Yeah, Love Over Gold. Yeah,
Love Over Gold's my favorite.
Yeah.
Love Over Gold's my favorite record by.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm a self-titled guy. I love that first.
Oh yeah. I like them all. I mean, hell, they've only got 6 LPs. You know.
Yeah.
But no, there's so much. Levi brought up a good point. I mean, in the sense that Brothers in Arms is, has 3 or 4 singles that basically everybody that listened to the radio in the 1980s.
Oh yeah.
But it's just a band that's so much more than that when you discover the rest of the catalog. I remember probably in college, I heard the rest of their catalog or a lot of it at least beyond Brothers in Arms, and I was like, well, shit, stuff's mind blowing,
Right.
So,
dude, I think if I had quite possibly, if I had a desert island song, if I had to listen to one song the rest of my life, it could possibly be Water of Love. I freaking love that song. The tone of the guitar on that song, it just I can hear that song and never get tired of it.
Right.
Killer tune.
Absolutely. Now, wasn't his brother in the band for a while?
On that first album, yeah.
It's on the first album. Okay.
I don't know if it was they kind of had a falling out or
Yeah,
and he didn't. And then from that point on, Knopfler wasn't really afraid to kick people in and out of the band. John, I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Is it John Isley?
Yeah, something like the bass player.
He was the bass player. He's pretty much been the one constant. They've had different drummers, they've had different other guitarists, they've had different bass players, or not bass players, keyboardists.
Yeah. I saw that they got back together in like 92 or so, something like that, 93. 92.
Is that when they put out that record that had the single Callin' Elvis?
I think so.
I think that might have been the single off that record.
And they put out a live record too. It's their second live record. Which do you guys have their live record, the first one, Alchemy?
Alchemy? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have that one.
My introduction to Dire Straits was a live Rock Palast show in college, and I think it was Rock Palast, and yeah, it's holy smokes, this is what guitars are supposed to sound like.
Oh yeah,
that guy has so much tone in his hands.
Oh jeez.
Yeah, he's a master. He's a master, dude. I kick myself for not seeing him solo the couple opportunities that I've had, and who knows now with not only the future of Mark Knopfler playing live, but live music in general.
I can tally Knopfler.
Yeah. Oh, you did? You saw it?
What? Oh man.
Where at? Where didn't you see
here
that?
at the Midland in Kansas City.
No shit. I didn't know you went to that.
Yep.
Did you ever mention that to us?
I don't know. Maybe.
All right.
But
I'm like scorning a child here,
How dare you see Knopfler and not tell us?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was killer.
I bet.
Really good seats and just awesome sound.
Acoustic and electric, a little of both, or
there may have been a bit of acoustic in there. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it was a full band, of course. But yeah, billed as Mark Knopfler solo.
Yeah.
Yep.
He came. It would probably been the same. This is about 3 years ago or so, or a little longer than that.
Yeah, I'm looking it up right now. And I was automatically logged out of my Setlist FM account. And but yeah, it was maybe 6-7 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I've missed probably 2 or 3 opportunities to see him, since I've lived in Chicago, which now 17 years.
He doesn't like touring. He's totally over it.
Yeah, and he has no desire to reunite Dire Straits either.
To him, they're his songs.
Yeah, Knopfler marches to his own drum, So yeah.
But what's funny is I I'm more on his camp than I am the way that like Robbie Robertson did the band.
Mm. Yeah,
kind of like I don't know. You know what I mean? Like Robbie Robertson was like, "Oh, I'm never going to reunite the band or whatever. I'm never going to play with those guys again." But like, I don't know.
and then the band in like the '80s was like kind of sad too. You know?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. 2010, April of 2010. Mark Knopfler
so wow,
at the
10
Midland.
years ago.
Closed the set with Telegraph Road.
Nice.
Pretty sweet. So encore with Brothers in Arms, So Far Away, and Piper to the End.
So Far Away has become one of my favorite songs as I've gotten older.
Gorgeous tune. Yeah. That's my favorite single on Brothers in Arms, definitely.
Right on.
As I get older. Yeah, right.
That's how many copies that album sold. 30 million.
Jeez.
He doesn't need to tour.
Well, Knopfler can afford the townhouse in London and the farm in Sussex or something, right?
Yeah. And even his later stuff sounds awesome.
It does. It's that album.
Yeah. All the Road Running is very good with Emmylou Harris.
Yeah, that was good.
I have the one with him and Chet Atkins. It's called like Over the Top. It's pretty good.
He had an album that came out just probably within the last 6 years or 5 or 6 years. Oh, Tracker is really good.
Yeah.
2015. Yeah, it's really good. And he did a soundtrack to a movie called Metroland. It's like just kind of a little British movie. It's got Christian Bale in it, and before he really became like huge, like, and then I think somebody else's British actress is in it. And he did the soundtrack to it. It's a really, really good soundtrack. I saw the movie like kind of just on a whim, in college, and I was like, oh wait, Mark Knopfler did all the tunes for that. Yeah. So check that one out.
Yeah, Dire Straits is a good candidate for a band to listen. You can listen to their catalog from beginning to end in one day. So they might have to do that this week.
Yeah.
Cool. Right on. Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna. Speaking of Setlist FM, which I just referenced, that is my 15th most favorite thing in baseball and rock and roll. So, a couple of weeks ago, in the midst of the coronavirus outbreak in the United States, I received an email alert that didn't overwhelm me with dread. And rather than a COVID-related update, this was from Setlist FM, a website devoted to archiving live music events, dates, locations, and set lists. I received the alert because a site user had updated the set list for a Ben Harper concert I attended in St. Louis in 1998. This, make no mistake, was a welcome distraction from current events. So, for those who aren't familiar, the Setlist FM concert database it's by no means comprehensive, but it grows every day, adding like brand new set lists or revising old concert details.
And it's a wiki.
Yeah, exactly. And database entries can be added or modified by users and administrators, just like Wikipedia. And users can create accounts that allow them to keep a record of shows they've attended and see a modest set of stats that result. So in my opinion, it's as close as we can come to like a sports page for live music, which is, it's an extension of when I was in college. I check out jambands.com on a daily basis to see the latest sets for like Government Mule or Widespread Panic. And admittedly, that daily check kind of replaced the perusing of baseball box scores in the newspaper when I was in college, because I didn't have a newspaper. And
jambands.com actually called them box scores too.
They did, yes, to their credit. That was a nice little touch on their part. Mm-hmm. But Setlist FM, of course, is more than just jam bands. They'll report sets for any band, pretty much who has a fan devoted to reporting them. And the day or the week after you attend a concert, you log in, you click, the I was there button to add the show to your concert history, and then you can visit your user charts page and review which bands you've seen the most and maybe which songs you just heard live for the first time. And the sat sorting is a little simplistic in my opinion, but I won't gripe about a free website. But it's equally fun. In times like these without live music, the website, you can just fall down a rabbit hole of set lists for artists of concerts you didn't attend. So whether you want to see how many songs like Paul McCartney played on the 1993 World Tour, just 44, or how many times Gomez has played Kansas City? 5. Or what Megadeth most often opened and closed with on its 1993 Countdown to Extinction tour, Holy War's The Punishment Due and Anarchy in the UK, respectively. Site, this setlistfm.com should be considered your go-to for such rabbit holes.
I was thinking Hangar 18's a little more towards the end of the show usually, but with the Megadeth. Yeah. Well, also too, like you can, you can sort by city, as well. So it was always kind of fun. Like they don't have the set list you'll see a lot of shows in there too that don't have the set list, particularly like older shows from the 60s, 70s, 80s. So it was cool, you can see who played Springfield, or at least a good idea of many of the bands that played Springfield, or places, in smaller markets. It's always fun to see those. I love it. I've over the years tried to input my concert history as best as I can recollect, at least. I'm sure I'm missing a few, or just embarrassed to say that I went to so many String Cheese Incident shows. So I've purposefully excluded a few of them. But yeah.
I remember that Baker's Dozen run you hit, man. 13 shows in a row.
Right. Yeah. Gargantuan hemp necklace on. Yeah. Anyway.
The fatter the hemp, the headier you were, my man.
Yeah. I feel bad. Like I'd probably be really embarrassed. I've really beaten up String Cheese over the years on this podcast, and sorry, Michael Kang, if you're listening, it's nothing personal. All right. But anyway, so it is a great site, man. Levi, have you ever entered any of yours?
I've never entered any of mine, but now that I have some free time, I might as well.
Sit down, man.
I have a bunch of my tickets.
There you go.
I can just pull up my tickets and I could go straight off of that.
Yeah.
And then obviously I could pull up the Bonnaroos and remember the ones the shows I actually saw.
I've done that too. Because they have festivals in there and they'll separate the bands, because that Ben Harbor show you went to was a Horde festival. Right?
It was Horde. Yep.
So so they'll separate out many of the bands, even if it's a festival gig. I tried to recall, who I saw at Bonnaroo or Riot Fest, etc. So, it's just a great tool, man. It's a lot of fun. There is because you had mentioned, sort of like a sports page for concerts. I don't think it's gained a lot of momentum, but I'm just looking at my phone here because I bookmarked it. One time, and it's called Sports Passport. You guys ever heard about this?
No.
Mm-mm.
I don't think it really ever took off. It's a wiki, but you can enter. You can keep track of the sporting events you've attended, and it will tell you the score. It usually has the box score, some stats. Like I said, I don't think it really ever got off the ground all that much. So I don't necessarily know if it's that widely used. It's an interesting
concept.
Yeah, I don't know if it's that widely used, but it's pretty cool. If it's Sports Passport, either .net or .com. But yeah, it's worth checking out. I mean, I whoever made it, I salute them for at least trying. I don't think it's gained quite the same traction that something like Setlist.fm has, but it's a similar concept.
Yeah. It's not a perfect website, but I feel like that there could be more granular breakdowns of what you've seen of set lists, and but you can't argue with free, so I won't complain too much.
Yeah, right. No, it's a great site, and quite frankly, a few artists, it's kind of nice to see sometimes what they play too if you're going to see them. I know that kind of is a little bit of a spoiler sometimes, but I do it.
I've started doing it too.
On a few classic rock type shows, I'm like, I'm kind of curious what they're gonna play, so I don't memorize it, and I still try to act kind of surprised, but it's nice to take a peek at it, and that's for bands that don't change their set list really all that much. It comes in handy there. But yeah, so I know when to take my piss breaks during Kiss concerts and things like that, so Right.
Good. That's a pro move.
Yeah. So good stuff, man.
Good stuff,
setlist.fm fun. Gosh, my next one, I'm sure devoted a whole episode to this artist, and we could certainly probably talk about him until dawn. But I'm thankful for Neil Young's longevity. I just like to throw that out
Specifically
there.
his longevity?
Yeah, specifically. I just had Neil Young, but I said his longevity. Here's a guy that is still, he's in such a small circle of people that he's still putting out interesting music at nearly 75 years old. Now, Neil Young is one of my favorite musicians. He'd be in like my top 10 if I made one. But there are other artists that have catalogs that maybe I value more than his. But nobody can match the quality of his work spread out over now, like 5 decades or some shit, right? Maybe more, 6 decades, 7 decades.
Yeah.
So there's nobody else that can, I mean, the only people I would include in that very short list would be Bruce Springsteen, who's a little bit younger than Neil, and rest in peace, Tom Petty. I can't think of any other people. Occasional
not rock, but like Willie. I would put Willie Nelson in there. He's remained relevant.
Yeah. And when you say relevant, it's not like Neil albums like shoot to the top of the charts.
No, yeah, same like with that. Willie.
But they make interesting music still.
Exactly,
and it still seems like sort of quote unquote an event when they release a record. And it's and like Neil, even if even if he doesn't always, he puts out a lot of material. So even if it isn't always something that like I really go back and listen to a lot, I'm always interested in what he's going to do. Because a lot of other big name artists, classic rock gods of yesteryear, they're still satisfying to see live. I enjoy seeing them live, but they don't always put out good studio work, even if they put out any at all, anymore. I mean, can you imagine if Neil, he wouldn't be the same artist if he would have taken the tack that, like, I don't know, name them, like somebody like The Who, even, no disrespect, like, if Betsy's listening, but like,
She's
like
not.
releasing 2 records over the course of,
20 years,
but also constantly touring and pretty much playing the same songs every night, and again, I love them and they'll always have a place in my heart, but like, Neil puts out a new record and it's usually worth listening. It's not usually, it's always worth listening to. It's always worth listening to, like, as much as you're going to listen to, like, Tonight's the Night. No, but it's, he keeps me interested. He maintains my interest, even if he doesn't necessarily land every punch. And I think that for many older artists, I think the 3 of us and any other semi-discerning music fan would say, oh, I wish I would have caught artist X in their heyday. I wish I would have caught the Stones in their heyday. I wish I would have caught Led Zeppelin in their heyday. I wish I would have caught, the Who in their heyday. I mean, the 3 of us can say that we saw a heyday that never really ended all that much, at least for Neil. So I'm blessed to be able to enjoy his entire catalog, and have experienced a good chunk of that catalog, like during my lifetime when I was able to listen to music,
And I got to see him twice, and he didn't disappoint either time.
Yeah, he never really does. I mean, it's the live shows are, the set list, he doesn't change it up with Grateful Dead like, variety, or even Pearl Jam like variety for that matter. But it's enough to
the one show was
his concerts aren't redundant. Go ahead though. I'm sorry.
One of the times was when they had reunited with Crosby, Stills and Nash and Young.
Right. Yeah.
And it was at St. Louis at the Savas Center, the Keel
Yeah.
Center, whatever they call it now.
Yeah.
And so, like, I truly feel like if Neil Young hadn't been there, the concert wouldn't have been nearly as good.
I saw one of those tours, I think like 2002, and
That was
I
probably the same
completely
era.
agree. Yeah, it was. I think it wasn't the first time they got back together, but maybe the second time, a couple of years later. And I agree with you. Yeah, it's if he wasn't there, I wouldn't have been interested in going all that much, you know. And the set list for that tour didn't really change, but that's like an exception, you know. I think he's you know, I don't know, he's a member of a band. Well, I don't know, you know what I mean. He's got other people's catalogs that he has to showcase too during those shows.
For sure.
But yeah, you know, I'm thankful for Neil, well into his AARP years, still putting out, you know, music that interests me. I can't say that. I can only say that about a very, very small handful of people that emerged in the 60s and 70s.
He put out 9 albums in the 2010s.
Yeah.
And most bands half his age are putting out a third of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me ask you this, right? Can you rank your top 3 Neil albums since 1990? So that would be Ragged Glory on, right? And they can include Crazy Horse or otherwise.
It's hard. Okay, so
go ahead.
I'm gonna throw in Ragged Glory is absolutely in there. Harvest Moon is really good, but it might be overplayed in my brain. Sleeps with Angels, Mirrorball, Broken Arrows up there. Lanois is amazing.
You've surpassed 3.
I know, right? So yeah, I'll say Ragged Glory, Sleeps with Angels, and Mirrorball.
I'll go Harvest Moon, Mirrorball, Greendale.
Nice.
I was gonna say Ragged Glory, probably Harvest Moon, and then Mirrorball.
It's funny because I mean when he toured on Greendale, it hadn't been released yet,
right?
And that's the thing that you know really tells you that this is a dude who marches to the beat of his own drum, and that he'll release a record and then go on tour and not play any songs from that record, but rather play songs from a record that's yet to be released.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Like I said, you know, like I mean, his live shows will, if it's like a standard Neil tour, quote unquote, will include a lot of familiar tunes, and those will be played every night. But like you said, you know, he'll do something totally just unorthodox, you know, like that. You know, another one I like a lot. I listened to it last night actually in preparation for this episode. I like Psychedelic Pill a lot.
Yes,
I would think it's an honorable mention. I mean, it's got a 27-minute opening track,
and I'm going to be referencing that in one of my later items. In that I heard that live.
I love the Ramada Inn as well on it. Yeah, Sleeps with Angels is great too. I'll say this: even though Sleeps with Angels didn't crack my top 3, it would definitely be an honorable mention. Change Your Mind is probably my favorite Neil song since 1990.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah,
agreed. Yeah. It's if you ever want to bring a tear to this old man's eye, you spin Change Your Mind, and
oh god,
and 6-7 minutes in, and I'm a wreck.
And I can find redeeming qualities in about every release. Like I guess probably like if there's, I'm not crazy about Are You Passionate?
I think it's underrated.
Yeah. Tell you what, man, I won't badmouth it too much because I need to listen to it again. I didn't get a chance to listen to it prior to this episode again. I bought it at the time it came out, and it didn't grab me. I listened to it a couple times again over the years. It never really grabbed me. I don't like Prairie Wind as much as a lot of people seem to. Overproduced is rarely a word I would use to describe Neil's music, but maybe Prairie Wind and Are You Passionate might be a little too produced for me.
Yeah.
And then also like the Monsanto stuff, I get it. He's passionate about it, but it's all a little on the nose, so to speak. You know, like,
Earth and
yeah, like it's just I get it. Don't get me wrong, he's right. You know, a lot of things are really fucked, but I don't know. I don't know if I want to really hear him go on about it for a full album. It's just me.
Is he one of the only artists that you could say his weakest point in his career was like 2/5 of the way through it, and then like everything else is amazing, and the 2/5 being like the early '80s stuff,
like trans and stuff.
Yeah. Like the least accessible stuff is Reactor and Trans. Everybody's rocking old ways, landing on water, life.
I know, but like I kind of in a perverse way kind of like those albums though.
Sure.
Yeah.
But it's just so strange that like those are probably like some of the last ones you reach for though.
Sure.
And yet they were they're at a point in his career where you would think, oh, this is normally some of the juiciest stuff. But yeah, not for Neil. He's just so unorthodox like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's knock on wood, he's probably got a couple more in him too. So yeah.
I think so. Think so.
Good deal. Well, yeah, that's Neil's something to always be thankful for. So good one there. My next item on the list is it kind of combines both music and sports and baseball in general too. But that's just the whole rock music sports bio novel. I'm super thankful for him, and now in the time of quarantine, I guess everyone has less of time to maybe read if they want to, but
more time to read. You mean
throughout the years, I've had the pleasure of reading lots of different. I've always been into music biographies and sports biographies, so I've had the pleasure of reading a bunch, and so. Probably my favorite baseball one is the classic from 1970, Ball 4, written by Jim Bouton, the Yankees pitcher, which at the time it was considered like super risque, and like the commissioner of baseball tried to have it banned, and like they were like, we can't let people know that baseball players are like this, like. Because I guess up until that point, people had this illusion that like baseball players were like still like the all-American choir boys, and he's like talking about them popping speed pills and like playing hungover and drunk and having sex on the road.
Right.
Mickey Mantle on the roof with a telescope peeping in windows. Shit.
Right. Yeah, and so That was one of my first introductions into it.
It lifted the veil, so to speak. Yeah, go ahead.
My dad had that book. So like I bet I read that book like when I was like 11 years old or something, because it was on the shelf and in the other room. And some of the music ones I've read, one was Let It Blurt, which is about Lester Bangs, the rock critic. It's an excellent biography. And then two of the more interesting ones that I've read, and what kind of made it even more interesting was that it's like you get both points of view. Is I've read Robbie Robertson's book and Levon Helm's book, and so you kind of get to see both sides of that whole story. And it's just amazing the relationship that band had and the way it all went down at the end and everything. But do you guys have any favorite like sports or music books that you've read throughout the years?
Yeah, one of my favorite music books growing up was Midnight Riders. I think it was called Midnight Riders, the story of the Allman Brothers Band.
I have that right over on the shelf. I have
your copy. I
from
might
like
have
the
mid-90s.
Yeah.
I literally have a copy of it 10 feet from me.
The way that's written, I mean, I don't know if it's good prose. I read it when I was like 16 or whatever, but the stories it told have really stuck with me. And so I appreciate that an author does that and helps kind of build the legend of a band and endears them to me even more so.
Kiss put out 4 solo albums, and also every member has put out an autobiography, right? So I would rate the Kiss autobiographies here as and none of them are really that spectacular.
No,
Kiss's autobiographies. But well, I mean, like I think a lot of people were disappointed in Aces because they thought it was going to be cool, full of like a lot of like, you know, because he's crazy and, you know, he was like the fun guy in the band. But his autobiography was kind of weak. So I'd go Chris, Paul, Ace, and then Gene, just because Gene is just, you know, him being Gene Simmons essentially. So those I've got a long list of rock autobiographies that I need to check off. Like I bought Greg Allman's and I haven't read it yet, a long time ago. I bought Clapton's, I haven't read it. I haven't read Keith Richards. I'm kind of embarrassed to say. So I've got a bunch of them and I need to read them. So I'm not the best at answering this question, really. So in baseball, well, I did read a good baseball. It's not nonfiction, but I read a good baseball novel last month or a month before. I read Cactus League by Emily, I think Nevins. I don't have her name in front of me. She's the editor of the Paris Review, I think. That was good. I enjoyed it.
The premise is it's spring training.
Yeah. You know, it's basically a web of characters connected to baseball and spring training. You know, one superstar player, like an old veteran hitting coach, an owner, a kind of a buxom kind of hanger-on, you know, who's kind of down on her luck and looking for, you know, one last fling with a baseball player, you know. So yeah, pretty good. I enjoyed it. Yeah, it's probably a pipe dream, but I'd like to it'd be cool if we could ever have her on or something like that to talk about it. Yeah, so that was pretty good. I enjoyed that. I read 8 Men Out a long time ago. I've got that one.
Did you guys read a lot of Matt Christopher when you were a kid?
Catcher with the Glass Arm, man. Yeah, I read some Matt Christopher.
So for people who don't know, Matt Christopher was an author who wrote these little league fiction stories for like 3rd, 4th, 5th graders. And I
gotta pull up a cover of one of these.
They would include like box scores, and you would go through entire seasons, I think, and you would kind of like root for certain players, and you would look at the stats in the back, if I recall correctly, and man, yeah, for like a middle school or elementary school kid just wanted to eat up some baseball, Matt Christopher fed it to you.
I remember The Catcher with the Glass Arm. That's the only title I remember, you know. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Levi, you got to catch up, man.
Well, I have some new reading for my quarantine now.
Yeah.
Get the Matt Christopher collection delivered.
If we could get Matt Christopher on. He's still alive.
Yeah, right, huh?
So Glass Arm, how'd you do it, you son of a bitch?
No, Matt Christopher died in 1997.
Ah, damn.
Yeah.
But and Levi, I mean, you've got me wanting to read. You know, like I bought like I said, I own a lot of these, and I haven't even gotten to them. Or Steph owns them. Like one of the better rock autobiographies allegedly of the last few years is the Patti Smith one. You know, and I haven't. Everybody raves about it. You know, and I haven't gotten to that one yet either. Just Kids, I think it's called. Yeah. So I got a long list, man. I need to get through these.
Did you know The Catcher with the Glass Arm is 1964?
Well, I saw when I pulled it up, I saw there was a bunch of incarnations of the cover. So I was like, oh, wow, that book's been around a while.
Yeah. Yeah. Gabe, did you read the Jeff Tweedy bio?
I haven't, man.
No. Oh, yeah. You'll
Levi, you read that too, didn't you?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. You guys liked it? Yeah. I would imagine he's probably a good writer too, is my guess. You know, or
it flows.
Whoever. Because I mean, even some. Not everybody can pull that off. Even if you write a good song, doesn't mean you're necessarily going to write good prose. You know. So yeah, I'd imagine he's one of the few people that can do that well.
And it helps too that he's a guy who frequently speaks on stage, so you know his voice and his adaptations very well.
Right.
And so I bet that goes a long way to making a biography, or an autobiography, I should say, more enjoyable. Is just kind of knowing how the artist phrases things. So, but yeah, you can totally hear him. He's your inner dialogue when you read it.
Sweet. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Nice. All right. So, gosh, we're here at the 10-minute warning already.
All right.
I think we'll crack the top 40s now. So we're in the Casey Kasem territory.
Yeah.
So my next favorite thing about baseball and rock and roll is the Effectively Wild podcast. So the Effectively Wild is a podcast that, quote, covers a mix of timely baseball topics from the serious to the absurd a few times per week. So it Effectively Wild will take a sharp analytical angle at nearly every topic in baseball. And that's kind of why I love it. And I'm not necessarily a deep analytics expert, but I can keep up just enough, and that's all you need to be able to enjoy each and every episode. So it's both light and dense at the same time. The mainstay host is Ben Lindbergh, and when I started listening, he had a co-host who was hired away by the Tampa Bay Rays about a year and a half ago, I think. So they brought in an old co-host, Sam Miller, with whom, in an experiment we'd all enjoy, Ben and Sam ran a Pacific Coast League team for a season, and they wrote a book about that. Another co-host that they mix in is Meg Rowley, and everybody's like really friendly and insightful, and they don't pretend to have all the answers necessarily. And frequently, if a question comes up, it'll be completely tackled in a later episode with figures backing it up. And so there's a lot of and aha moments at the same time. And I'll admit that I don't necessarily retain everything that's discussed, but in the moment, like when you're, it's completely engrossing and just like a great brain exercise while doing the dishes. And a few times per week, about an hour each episode, and you never know what the focus is going to be on, and it might be the value of often it's about Mike Trout or Shohei Ohtani because they are enamored with those ball players, but then it can equally be about a player from the early 20th century that flew under the radar that was remarkable for completely other reasons, and again with all of the stats to back it up. So the Effectively Wild podcast.
I have listened a couple times. It's not a regular listen for me, but I see the appeal. I definitely they've set a good tone, and they don't have like this know-it-all vibe to them, but it is they've got a good take on things.
New to me. I'll have to check them out.
Yeah, I've only listened to a couple of them, but it's Jonathan.
I'm always quoting them.
Yeah. Yes.
In our text.
Yes. Right.
I probably claim a lot of the knowledge that I just lifted off of.
Right.
Just with that attribution.
Yeah. Cool.
But and I highly recommend you check them out, especially now in this time without much baseball discussion, because they're produced by Fangraphs, which is a great analytics website, which is looking for support in a time that is supposed to be their busy season, of course, with the beginning of baseball, and so they're looking for support for their writers and and content producers.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Oh, is it back to me now? Or
we're at about 55 minutes.
Okay. Yeah. Let's do one each then. Then we'll wrap it up here. I don't think this one will take long for me. But one of the things I was looking forward to in the 2020 baseball season, I was looking forward to the Padres returning to their golden brown uniforms. We did a whole show, I think, on uniforms one time. I'll have to
probably
dig it out and post a link to it or something. But and I think we probably sung the praises of the Padres brown and gold uniforms because they are pretty gorgeous. But yeah, I'm glad. I don't know if you guys got to see the kind of the update that they did of it for this year.
Mm-hmm.
It looks good. It's obviously they're not going to go totally throwback like I want, but they did a good job of kind of merging the previous uniform they have with the old and infusing the old color scheme into it, basically. So yeah, I was excited about that. Looking forward to seeing some brown on the field again. I don't think brown's a color that's in enough professional sports teams motifs. So yeah,
pretty rare.
So, yeah, Cleveland Browns, 80s, 70s, and 80s Padres. That's about it.
Yeah, maybe the Canucks at one point had a really bad. Yeah.
So it's maybe it's like the maybe it's just kitsch value. I don't know, but I was really looking forward to those uniforms. I feel like so many people are starting to if you go to a baseball game now, you see a lot of the throwback shirts. It's popular. So it's people are starting to and again, it might just be sort of culture of irony kind of thing, but I definitely want to see that rather than people like taking their cues from like the Oregon Ducks style,
Sure.
Uniform design.
Yeah. So can our generation kind of take credit for this this rejuvenation of the vintage styles?
I think so.
To the point where the Padres brought the brown and gold back.
Right. Which, like, if you were to say, like, 10, 20 years ago, people have been like, oh, my God, why would they do that,
Right.
Whereas now people are like, oh, yeah, that makes sense, or that'll be cool, I think...
Nostalgia rules nowadays.
I mean, yeah, I use the term, like, I think it's like this kind of culture of irony, too. Nostalgia rules, it's so ugly, it's pretty type thing,
We all just want to live in times that feel safer and in which we know the ending too.
Absolutely, yeah. So,
for the record, uniform episodes include episode 97, about a year ago today, opening day 2019. We discussed uniforms with the aforementioned Ricky Cobb. In episode number 27 from 2015, we discussed some of the best and worst baseball uniforms, past and present.
Okay. Nice. So I was looking forward to the Friars going out there and playing in the brown and gold, but keep my fingers crossed.
Time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, speaking of nostalgia, my next one kind of parlays into that. I never made it over to Japan to the multi-story tower records where you ride the escalator up through all the floors. But I did get to ride an escalator to a music store once or twice in my life, and that was at White Oaks Mall.
Yeah.
I can't remember. What was the one that was upstairs? It was either Musicland and Sam Goody. Like,
there was another one called JR's Music.
One was like upstairs, one was downstairs. But
You're right. Yeah.
But that was probably my first experience at buying music was at a mall store. Just because I hadn't been to like recycled records yet. I didn't know about them. And then like the birth of Best Buy, crushing all the other music stores. It hadn't really happened yet. But I have fond memories of going to the mall and buying cassettes.
Nice. Do you guys remember JR's? There was a place called JR's.
I do kind of remember that now that you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It that's where God, what did I buy there? Shit, I don't remember.
I think JR's.
Yeah, it was upstairs, I believe. Yeah,
I do remember it.
And then I want to say maybe JR's may have turned into Sam Goody.
Okay.
Maybe. Because you said there was Sam Goody and then what was
there was a Sam Goody and then there was a Musicland.
Musicland, right? I remember Musicland. Yeah.
So the CDs I remember were in the center, and then the tapes were up against the walls. Is that right?
I think so, and and then VHS was like really popular then too. So usually those stores had a VHS selection as well.
Sure. Then Suncoast moved in. And
Suncoast was great, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, dude, you know what I didn't realize until at the time, once, and so later I had the opportunity and the pleasure to work at Recycled Records. So I kind of got a little bit of insight into the independent music store business. And Best Buy was literally like selling new releases at like a loss pretty much every week, just to get people in the store to buy other stuff.
Right.
And so like by them doing that, it literally crushed all of the other independent music stores basically.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just
some
crazy.
nefarious shit.
I'm looking it up here. There is one Suncoast remaining in Texas, at least as of November 2019.
Wow.
Yeah, good for them.
Yeah.
Is there still a Kenny Rogers Roasters out there, man? I'm kind of
I'm guessing maybe like they just like maybe the parent company like didn't pick up the name or something like that, because I'm like, how could they keep one of them open, like why would they do that? But that's awesome. Yeah. So Musicland and Sam Goody. Wow. Yeah, I miss one of my favorite speaking of music stores in a mall. I know you follow them too, Levi. It's usually got a couple girls on there. Spin Me Around Records in New Jersey.
Oh, yeah, they're in a mall.
Yeah, they're a fun. It's in New Jersey, but yeah, they're a fun New Jersey or Pennsylvania. They're a fun Instagram feed, and they're in the mall. And I read like a little interview with the owner, and she, for a lot of the same nostalgia that we have, she's like, I went to the mall to buy music, so I want to keep that going. So yeah, seems like they're doing some good stuff.
Levi, for the record, then, is your item the idea of going to the mall to buy music?
Well, yeah, that basically the idea of going to the mall to consume music, yeah. Because I used to not always have money to buy the music. That was the thing. You could go to these stores, and I can't remember. They would have the little displays on the wall, and you could take off, which now seems really grody, but like people would share headphones. You would pull some headphones down and like push a button or two and like listen to samples of music.
Sometimes
that was how you got introduced to new music.
And because when you were a kid too, like every time you went to the mall, you didn't always get something. You know what I mean? So it was kind of. It was nice just to look. You're like, oh, next time is when I'll get it,
Yeah. You're like, thumbing through the
let me just mow a couple more yards, right.
Yeah. Or like I said, to just be able to like see the new releases and then like be able to listen to clips of some of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It was a.
Do you have any memories? Do you remember like your first music purchase, Jonathan?
Those were definitely my first CD purchases. And
okay.
Was at Musicland, and it was it was likely something like Soundgarden's Bad Motorfinger. I remember thinking about buying, in Mother Love Bone as well. I remember thinking about buying Green River because I knew that was an ancestor of Pearl Jam, and I hid it like in another section. And to this day, I still have never bought that album.
Still waiting for you there.
Yeah, it's still waiting for me. Yeah.
I mean, the first CD I bought was 10. And I can't remember if I got that at Best Buy or at the mall. I want to say probably it was Musicland probably would have still been around. I'm 91. 90. Mm-hmm. No, I think I got it maybe in 92, not 91.
Yeah, me too.
So that, and then the first cassette I bought, which definitely would have been at JR's or Musicland, was David Lee Roth, Eat 'Em and Smile. That was the first cassette I bought on my own. And then Billy Idol's Rebel Yell, like that was kind of my purchase, but like my dad had the turntable, but like he kind of bought the album for me. Like we went to the store and he let me pick out the record. You know what I mean?
Cool.
So
nice.
So yeah, so that would have been like 84 or so. Okay. So yeah, so I remember that, and I do. We purchased that at the mall. It would have been probably at Musicland or JR's. Yeah.
Yeah, then that means I likely purchased Bryan Adams' "Waking Up the Neighbors" cassette at Sam Goody, probably around circa whatever 1990, 91.
Yeah, yeah.
There was I can remember buying music at Venture back in the day. Do you remember Venture?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it was kind of like an upscale. It was like in between a Kmart and a Target or something.
Yeah. I remember Venture. It used to be. It was over like by where. Sorry, everybody's like, what are they talking about? Like, it was in Springfield on what was it?
MacArthur.
No, it was.
Fox Movie Theater.
Yeah, it was right down by the Fox Movie Theater.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Good stuff. Yeah.
Last time I was there, I saw Copland, I think.
Yeah. Levi, we saw Copland together.
Yeah.
We did at the Fox. Yeah.
Good movie.
Yeah.
All right, that's tangent. All right, anything more about visiting the mall to purchase your first music?
No.
All right. Well, then I'm going to close up here with one of my early favorite. Well, I shouldn't say early, but one of my peak baseball moments in fandom. I raised myself a Boston Red Sox fan from the age of 10, and then finally at the age of 24 in the year 2004, it all came to fruition. And this was the year in which the Red Sox were down to the Yankees 3-0 in the AL Championship Series. This is the year after they lost to the Yankees in 7 games in the ALCS to Aaron fucking Boone, hitting a series-clinching home run, I believe against Tim Wakefield. So flash forward 1 year later, the Red Sox fall to the Yankees 3-0, the first 3 games, but claw their way back to a Game 7 at Yankee Stadium. And you can feel it that this is the year that they're going to be the first team to ever not just to finally overcome the Yankees, but to come back from a 3-0 deficit.
Yeah.
And in Game 7, it starts off right. They take a lead, and Johnny Damon comes up to the plate with the bases loaded, and the top of the second inning with a 2-1 lead. And up to this point, Damon was, in the first 6 games of the series, he was 3 for 29 with 0 home runs and 1 RBI. So top of the second, bases loaded, 2-1 lead. Johnny Damon hits a grand slam to give him a 6-1 lead. This was a grand slam that was immortalized in a Ben Harper song for what that's worth.
Get it like you like it or something
like
that.
Yeah. Off of a solid Ben Harper record. And Johnny Damon then comes up again in the top of the 4th with a man on, hits another home run to take an 8-1 lead, to give the Red Sox an 8-1 lead. Johnny Damon goes 3 for 6 with 2 home runs and 6 RBI in that Game 7, and the Red Sox clinch the AL pennant, go on to sweep the Cardinals in the World Series, and the curse is broken. So the moment in particular I'm talking about is the Johnny Damon grand slam to give them the 6-1 lead, because it took all the pressure off. The Yankees just knew that it wasn't going to happen, that the Red Sox had come back and accomplished the seemingly impossible, and came back from 3-0 to clinch at Yankee Stadium and go to their first World Series since 1986, and win their first World Series since 1918. And it was a joyous final 8 innings there to just bask in it and really whoop it up. And Johnny Damon grand slam, Game 7, immortalized by Ben Harper.
I think nearly everybody was a Red Sox fan, except for unless you were a Yankees fan,
or a Cardinals fan.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Even Cardinals fans knew. They're like, all right, just let it.
They can't stop the team just on a roll like that. It's just not going to happen.
Yep. So, it was a formality at that point.
Yeah.
Well, and it's like poetic full circle. Like Johnny Damon started his career with Kansas City, and now that's your hometown.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't think he lives here or anything.
No.
There are no vestiges of Johnny Damon around town.
He was with you guys like 6 years or something, though, I think,
Sure.
wasn't he?
Yeah, he had some really good years. Then he went and signed a big contract with the Yankees, and after he was on the Red Sox.
After Boston, yeah.
Yeah, and he did okay. He actually won another ring with the Yankees in 2009.
Yeah.
Right. And then he played a couple seasons in Detroit too, near the end.
The close of Johnny Damon's career is like you could not guess.
Did he go to Oakland too? I think
he might have played to Oakland. Now that you say that, yeah.
No, he played for the A's actually after Kansas City, if I'm not mistaken.
That's
right. Yeah. He was on the A's in between the Royals and the Red Sox.
Just briefly. Yeah. All right. Sorry. Baseball reference has
for
to
one
come up
season.
Here.
And then it was the Red Sox for 4 years, the Yankees for 4 years, then the Tigers, the Rays, and the Cleveland Baseball Club for 64 games. And I mean he finished his career 284 batting average, 785 OPS, 2,769 hits. So he was just 231 hits away from 3,000, and he was venturing into that territory. People were wondering if he was going to become the first 3,000 hit king to not make the Hall of Fame, because he would have been at best a borderline Hall of Famer with a career 104 OPS plus. So his 408 career stolen bases, though.
He had a lot of steals. I mean, he led the league in steals one year.
Yeah.
Two-time All-Star, it looks like. Something like that.
Yeah.
It surprised me. I thought he would have made more. He was always pretty popular. I'm surprised he didn't make more All-Star teams.
Right. But it's, in the outfield, it's always, it's kind of congested out there. So, but even up there into the end, his second to last year, 16 home runs, 73 RBI. I mean, that's not awful. 19 stolen bases in Tampa.
Yeah, I would have had no idea he played for Tampa. You would have.
Right?
I would have never guessed.
I only know Detroit because, I think I went to a couple White Sox games that year where they played the Tigers, and I saw him play on Detroit.
I wouldn't have put money on him playing for Detroit. I had no idea.
Yeah.
Cool.
Johnny Damon.
Well, good stuff, guys.
Yeah, lots of fun. Good rapping with you boys again. And
we got through another 9.
That's right. I want to remind everybody, you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at RockinChew. That's in as in coconuts. You guys remember that music chain, Coconuts?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was across the street from the mall. I bought an Elvis CD from Coconuts.
Yeah. So so check us at RockinChew, and then follow us on. You can look us up on Facebook, and you can listen to every single episode of Rock and Roll Shin-Soo Chew all at rockchew.com or on YouTube or your favorite podcast app. Well, until next time, we will see you soon. Take care of one another out there. Stay safe and healthy, and we'll see you soon. Take care.
Thanks.